All right, this is week 10, SolidWorks, drafting 234. I'm doing this video for the mount assembly. I will do a separate video for the hex assembly. So let's get started. We're going to open a new part. My part files look different from yours because I am not using the school SolidWorks. I am using my own. So make sure you're using a metric part. And I'm going to start on the front plane. And we're going to do a center line right away. First things first. Do the center line, and then I'm going to throw a circle out here. And then I am going to draw my straight line. Then I'm going to come up a little bit. We're going to come over here because it's angled, and then I'm going to attach with a circle. Hit escape, and then I'm going to make these two tangent right away. Excellent. And I'm going to convert this to regular geometry for a second while I trim my circle. Then I'm going to come back over here and make this construction again. All right, now that I took care of all that, I can start dimensioning. So this is a 10 millimeter radius. This is a 4 millimeter. Whew. Pull this guy down a little bit. Sorry, pull this guy up a little bit. Sometimes SolidWorks gets loosey and weird, and that's okay. We're just going to straighten it out. All right, this line is 32. This line, not the midpoint, this line is 3. And our angle is 8. And from this line past the center line, remember we go over the center line to get that dimension, is going to be 60. Now we've got this beautifully fully defined part, and we could revolve it now, but I am going to put in my fillets first. So I've got a 2 millimeter fillet here, and then I have a 1 millimeter fillet right here. Don't forget that 1 millimeter. It is on the other side of your it's on the other side of the mount base drawing over here, so some people tend to forget about that little radii. Next, we are going to revolve, and the sketch is currently open. A non-thin feature requires close sketch. Would you like the sketch to be automatically closed? Say yes this time. So we get a nice solid revolve. And all that is left is to change this material to, nope, not this folder, this folder, ABS, which is in plastics. So we're going to ABS, we hit apply, close, it is nice and white, and we can save it in your mount assembly folder. This is going to be the mount base. All right, now we can open a new part. Make sure it is in millimeters as well. Now, our next part is going to be the mount arm, and this is going to use a loft feature. So the first thing I'm going to do before we get anywhere else, I'm going to make some planes. So I'm going to go from the right plane, and I'm going to use my little plane shortcut. So I am holding the control key as well as my mouse when I am on that 4-point arrow on a plane. And I want that to be 50 millimeters from this front plane. And so I don't get confused, I'm going to slow click, and I'm going to name this 50 millimeter plane. Now, I'm going from the right plane again, and I'm going to drag it back. In this plane, I would like to be 100 millimeters from the right plane. And I'm going to slow click again. So you click once, you click twice. There it goes. And I'm going to name this one 100 millimeter plane. That way I don't get confused. So I've got my right plane, I've got my 50 millimeter plane, and I have my 100 millimeter plane. So I'm going to start on the right plane, and I'm going to draw my first circle, which is going to be 22 millimeters. And then I'm going to exit. There's my first circle, and then I'm going to go to my 50 millimeter plane, and I'm going to sketch on that. So right click and sketch. And here I'm going to draw a 28 millimeter circle. If you are wondering where I got those dimensions for my circles, I've got my 22 millimeter diameter right here. I know I have 2 times that. So I know this circle and this circle are both going to be the 22 millimeters. And then this is a 28 diameter at the 50 millimeter location. So I know that my 50 millimeter plane, the circle I need there is going to be the 28 millimeters because of this note here. So moving forward, we have a 10 millimeter plane that we still need to sketch on, which I have opened my sketch for that already. No. So now we can make our sketch on our 100 millimeter plane, and we can convert our initial sketch here, so because we know those two are the same. So now we have 3 circles, and we can start our loft feature. So we can now begin our loft feature. Loft is right here. Lofted boss / base is here in the features right next to revolved boss. So we are going to loft. And it's important when you pick your profiles that we grab the same location on each circle, because it makes a nice smooth line like that. If you grab the circle anywhere, it will twist because that's the path it thinks you want. So make sure you're grabbing the same location. I'm aiming for the top quadrant point. It doesn't give me the chance to actually snap to the quadrant point, but we do our best. And close enough is fine. If you do grab in the wrong place, you can drag your little blue dot up to the right location, and that will work just fine. Then we hit the green checkbox, and now we have our lofted base. So next, we need to make our cut revolve for the inner profile. So we are going to go to the front plane and sketch. And we can start with a line here. So we are going to make a line all the way across here. And then I'm going to make a circle, and I want my circle to come way out here. And I want this circle to be 164 from that line I made down the center. And I want it to be a radii dimension. So I'm going to come up here and change this to a radius dimension. And it is 175. And it is still underdefined. So I'm going to grab the midpoint of this line. I'm going to hold Control. I'm going to grab the center point of my circle, and I'm going to make those vertical. And that'll give me a fully defined circle. And I'm going to leave it right there for now. I got other fish to fry. So I'm going to come down to my center line, which is a real line because I'm going to use it to trim things. I'm going to make my circle. And I'm going to grab this line. And it is going to be 2 millimeters from the edge there. I'm going to convert this line. And then I'm going to trim my circle here, 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 and here. Excellent. Then I can give that a dimension of 10. And I can trim here as well. So now that is looking pretty good. All right, so that is looking pretty good. I need my circle on the other side too, my weird half circle on the other side. So I'm going to make a center line here. And I'm going to mirror my circle around this center line. And I'm going to hit the OK button. And now I can trim the rest of the circle. And that gives me that nice, fun shape. Now I've got a line here, line here, line here, and line here. And I, of course, have my line over here. But I need this line as well before I can make my cut. So make sure that you are fully closed off before you make any attempt for your cut extrude. So now I've got my cut all ready. Everything's fully defined, so I can come up here to revolved cut, and it's grabbing the wrong axis of revolution. I'm going to grab that center mark, and now it is showing me that preview, which is exactly what I want to cut. So I will say yes. I'm going to keep these bodies. There we go. So difficult to see that cut in there, but it is in there. You can always come up here to section view, and you can see that that cut is in there exactly where we want it. All right, so we have our cut in there. We can also see it highlighted. so we have our cut. Everything looks good. And we can now put in our four slits. So I'm going to make one slit, and then I am going to circular pattern the other slits. So I'm going to go on the front plane. I'm going to sketch, and I'm just going to put out a tiny little rectangle right here. And we can dimension this rectangle. It is 2 millimeters over here. And it is 15 millimeters long. And I'm going to grab the center point of this line. So I'm right-clicking on the line, hitting select center point, and I'm going to grab the midpoint here. And I'm going to make those coincident, and that will fully define my rectangle. And now I can come over to features, and I can cut. We can look this way. It's going that direction, so we can go through all, and we can cut that slit. It's not a slot, it's a slit. We can cut that slit all the way through, and now we can go to circular pattern. I'm going to turn on my temporary axes so I can grab a center line, and 360 degrees is fine, but we want 4 equal spacings. And you can see those 4 spacings come up. Okay, so once you have your circular pattern, we are going to mirror about our 50 millimeter plane. We're going to mirror our circular pattern, and we can hit the green checkbox, and that is our second part. Oh, wait, we have to change our material to the ABS. Hit apply, close, and of course we need to save as the mount arm. Now we can make another new part. This is going to be the mount adapter. So I'm going to start on the front plane. As shown below, probably the easiest with the origin in the center of the part. So this is our front view. This is our right view. As you can see, our top view is right there. So this is the isometric. So this is front, right, top. All right. So we're in our front view. I'm going to make a rectangle to start out. And I'm going to dimension this rectangle. We are 38 millimeters. And this is going to be 75 millimeters. We've got 25 millimeters. And finally 50 millimeters. And we have fillets of 10 millimeters on all 4 of these corners. And that is a fully defined sketch. So I'm going to go to extrude, and this is going to be 3 millimeters thick. So I will make that 3 millimeters thick. All right, fantastic. I'm going to draw this ball. So I'm going to draw that from the right side here. Oopsie, oopsie, I just made a mistake. So next I'm going to do that ball. So I'm going to draw on the right plane. And we are going to start with a center line. And I'm going to draw my circle out here. And I'm going to draw a line. Oop, nope, not like that. We don't want any automatic relationships. I'm going to draw my line here. Going to turn this into a regular line for my trimming. And then it can go back to being a center line. All right, let's add some dimensions. This is going to be 10 from tip to edge. It's going to be 25 from this line to a double dimension here is going to be 8. And then I've got a lot of radius 1 fillets, and I think I'm going to do those at the end. So I'm going to leave it like this for now. And I can close this sketch so it becomes nice and gray. And I can come to my revolve boss, and it's going to grab my first line. It's going to do that. It's going to merge everything I want. That will give me that. All right, so next we are going to draw our boss extrudes. So I am going to go normal 2. I'm going to draw my 4 circles. We do have dimensions for these circles. They are not just automatically in line with our radii. So I'm going to dimension this out. That is going to be 65. And this one is going to be 10. And this is also 10. And this one is going to be 40. So make sure you're using all your dimensions. Don't just assume that these are centered with the radii. And make all your horizontal and vertical alignments. And then we need to make them 8 millimeters. And we can grab all 4 of them holding the control key and make those equal. So now those are fully defined. We can extrude them 3 millimeters. The green checkbox, that looks great. All right, let's do our hole wizard, and then we can put our fillets in to finish everything up. So hole wizard, this is a tapped hole. We are in metric. We can do a straight path. Straight. And we are looking for an M5. Hold on. Let's do a bottom tapping hole. And we are grabbing the M5 times 0.8. Let's go to positions. And we're going to grab the top surface here. And we can put those right in the center of our circles. There we go. Hit our green checkbox, and there's our holes. Last but not least, we're going to put our fillets in. And if you look at your instructions, our fillets. We have radius 1 fillet here, 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 and here. So that is not a 10 millimeter, a 1 millimeter. And we're going to grab the top. We're going to grab each of these bosses, top and bottom. And our little circle guy, top and bottom. There you go. That is going to be our mount adapter. Change our material. SolidWorks materials in plastics. We have ABS right at the top. Hit apply, close, and then save as the mount adapter. All right. So now that we've got our 3 parts made, we can make an assembly. I am going to make sure I am on millimeters because I do not have the correct templates. So you probably won't have to do that. First things first, we are going to drop the mount base on the origin. So remember, if we have this guy floating out here and we just come up to the green checkbox, it will automatically drop it right on that origin point, right where we want it. So ball should be pointing up. If you drew it in the right orientation, you will be fine. So next we can add the mount arm. I'm going to click my pin so this stays here. I'm going to drop my mount arm and my mount adapter. I'm going to bring them both out at the same time. And then I can get rid of this. So I want my mount arm and mount adapter. I'm going to... Okie dokie. So we are going to mate we're going to concentric mate these 2 parts together. Then I'm going to create a sketch on the front plane. I'm reading this right off the directions, guys. I'm going to create a sketch on the front plane. And it is going to be just a couple of center lines. You can see this sketch that I'm making right now is on page 4 of your worksheet here. So we're creating a sketch on the front plane of the assembly and drawing a vertical line right here and the horizontal line right here. We're going to use these lines to make our mate our parts, and we're going to turn on the temporary axes so we can mate the axes, and everything should be groovy looking. So right now I am drawing my lines. So I'm going to come up here with my Y line. I'm going to come and draw my X line. Then I'm going to turn on my temporary axes. Excellent. I'm going to exit my sketch. All right, I'm going to rotate. All right, so I can come up here, I can grab my cut revolve, I can grab my circle, to make them tangent, I guess. I'm going back normal to, not sketch. I'm going normal 2 to the front plane, and I can grab this line, hold my control key, grab this line, and we are going to make an angular mate. So we're going to make that 30 degrees. There we go. We are going to make this face here. We're going to grab this face and make it parallel to the floor. I do not like that. Okay. We're going to make an angular dimension between this face and this line. I'm going to pull up my mate tool. What is this? Go away. Okay. We're going to mate. We're going to mate this line and this guy. Those are going to be angled to 60 degrees. All right. And I'm going to go to the front, go normal 2. Let's see what else we need to do. So we need all right, so we need to make this face here. We're going to mate that. It is going to be parallel to the front plane. There we go. My angle doesn't look exactly right. So I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to, ooh, definitely not that. I'm going to flip the dimension. Just doesn't seem right. Seems like it's doing the wrong 60. Oh, that's the wrong angle. Okay. No wonder. Delete. Okay, so we are going to make an angle dimension between this face and this face. I'm going to angle, and it's going to be 60 degrees. I'm going to hit the green checkbox, and I'm going to put us over here in the front view. And we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. Okay. So we're still not fully defined. So I'm going to come to the front plane. I'm going normal 2. My instructions are telling me that I want to mate the axis of the arm coincident with the front plane of the assembly. So I'm going to grab this front plane and I'm going to make those coincident. So now my mount adapter is fully defined. My mount arm is not fully defined, and that's because it's spinning. And that's okay that it's spinning. We can leave that. A lot of times things that are rotating spin, and it's okay. I'd like you to have it so that we can see 2 of the slits and call it good. So that looks beautiful. We can save this. in our mount assembly folder as mount assembly. We're actually going to name this according to the instructions on the next page. We're going to name this assembly mount. All right. The last thing I want to tell you before we move into the drawing, you'll see I have instructions here on how to create the pictorial view, which is the back ISO view. You can follow those instructions, which are to go to the front view and hit the right arrow key 3 times and then the down arrow key once. That is totally fine. And then we can go here. I hit the space bar to pop up the orientation table. And you're going to go to New View, and you're going to save this view as Back ISO. So follow those instructions. That is how we're going to get this back isometric view. Now we are going to make a drawing from our assembly. You will grab your appropriate KCC title block. And we are going to come over here to our view layout, our view palette, and we can grab our back ISO that we just created. We can pull that in. We can hide our drawing lines. We do want this to be tangent edges with font. So that is exactly how I want to see that. We need to insert a bill of materials. So we are going to come up to Tables, Bill of Materials, and it wants us to select a drawing view. So we're going to grab our bill of materials and we can drop this in. And yours will have the your table is going to be correct because you're pulling from the actual KCC. When we are doing our view layout, make sure you're grabbing your assembly view, and you can play around here to make sure you're grabbing the right view that I asked for. So this is going to be the left view, and you're going to project that over to the right. Our scale is going to be 1:1. So make sure your scale's correct. Your scale can be 1:2. So we can use a custom scale of 1:2. That's fine. You can hide your sketch view in all of these. When you are dimensioning, I want just the 4 dimensions, and you are going to add them as their own dimension. So they are going to come up with the parentheses for you. If they don't, you can always add parentheses right over here. So you can add parentheses. I am in the wrong title block, as always. There we go. So we are making sure we have our millimeters. Make sure you're using the correct views. So I want the tangent edges with font over here. I want hidden lines shown, and I still want this to be tangent edges with font. And for our balloons, so we've got these 4 items, or 3 items. We are going to come up here to balloon, and you can grab the edge of the part that you want to dimension or to call out from the BOM. And you can see they are properly named, and they are automatically ballooned with their correct numbers. And you can play around, make sure you get it in the right place. Like, you wouldn't really want it to go through this whole part. So instead we are more looking, arrow up here is good. Arrow right here. You can play around. You just want it to look right. And SolidWorks will do some of the hard work for you by giving you this line that you can grab onto so that everything lines up properly, which is always nice. And fill out your, wrong one, I hit the wrong button. Fill out your file properties here. So make sure you're doing, fill out your information, and that will update your title block properly. And make sure your bill of materials is updated properly. Yours is going to look different than the one I just showed you. But that is going to be the mount arm, the mount assembly. So I will be back to show you the hex assembly, but this will get you started with your week 10. All right? Hope everyone's doing okay.